session or link. So for the purpose of this session, we need to create a small system that we will use for making those queries. So the math one from yesterday, we can delete it. Okay. Or you can create a brand new website, that's fine. Okay, so we need to create a simple system that uh, contains something similar to IMDb. So IMDb, if you ever been there, has the following things. So this website has class movie, okay, and the class actor. You also have users or viewers, okay, people who watch movies, and you have ratings. Okay, so the rating is the many to many between user and movie. So you know when a user is watching, like a user is watching a movie, he or she will give it a rating. Okay. Okay, what's the relation between actor and movie?
Many to many.
Many to many, because an actor can be in many movies and a movie can have many actors. So we need a third one, okay, okay, which has the salary. So like this actor in this movie had this salary. So in the relation between actor and movie, you know, we need extra information. So the salary of this actor in this movie, okay, is the extra information we are looking for. Okay. 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 So let's create this system and let's create the classes inside models. So for example, the first one, add class, okay, inside models. Okay. So here, for example, you can create the class movie, write everything in it. Okay. Then another class, add class, for example, the user. Okay. And another class for actor. And another class for rating. Okay, so we have those models inside our model folder. Models, which means basically classes. Okay, for the third relation between actor and movie, you can create a new class or you can have it in like the same file with some other class. Okay, usually for the like the third relation, like we want a class called actor movie between actor and movie. You can create a new file, that's fine, or you can create uh, um, like inside one of the files. Okay, so let's make this design. Okay, Yeah, try to um, make the most appropriate design you think is good. Okay, I'll be back in minutes, so in case you have questions, just hold on it. Okay, but everything should be like clear from here. Okay, I just need to talk about the lab for a moment with Zach.
So we just make the classes.
Yeah, so we just need the classes now. Okay, so let's start doing them together. Okay, so the user actually is the easiest one. So in the user, as you expected, we have the ID and we have the name. And we can add a list. So if we are to link it together, we can add a list of ratings to the user. Okay, but for now, let's leave it. Okay, the actor as well also has an ID. And the actor has a name. Okay. Of course, the actor will have a list of movie actors, that third class. Okay. We can add that later. Okay. So the movie will be our biggest class actually. So in the movie, we have the movie ID, we have the movie name, do we have in the movies you have release dates. Okay, you have what is the category of the movie, okay, or the genre. Okay, like is it action, is it comedy, is it anything. uh, so what else you thought about having in the movie?
Should we connect the movie to the rating?
Yeah, of course. So the movie can have a list of ratings, and the movie, like when you open IMDb now, or Rotten Tomatoes, those websites that um, give you like information about movies and ratings, you always have the overall rating. Okay, so like this movie, the overall rating of this movie is 7.2, or if it's very good, that's like 9.1. That's like a very good movie. So we can have another one, which is a double because usually it's something point something overall rating. Okay, so this is like what is the, like you have thousands of people rating a movie. Okay, so those thousands of people are rating a movie, are uh, providing their opinions about the movie, and the overall rating is the average between or among all those ratings, right? Okay, so of course the movie will have a list of ratings, a list of that third class between movie and actor. We will write this one, but let's write the rating before. So in the rating, what do we have? You have, like when I tell you this rating, so what is a rating actually, or who made that rating? Okay, like a user. Okay, okay, a user made a rating to what? Like what did he rate it there? A movie, right? So that's why this rating class is actually the relation between user and movie. And what do we have like extra? Like obviously, let's say that you can rate int, like you can choose from 1 to 10. Like if you didn't like this movie, you will use 1 or 2 or 3. If you like this movie, you will use 8, 9, 10. If the movie was so so, you will use something in the middle. Okay, like if you've ever rated any movie or even rated a restaurant or something, they usually ask you to choose a number between 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. Okay, so this one could be like value. Okay, like what is the value that this user chose for this movie? Okay, so eventually this rating class will be like the user number one rated the movie number four, and he said it was average, it was six. Okay, then another one, the user number five rated the movie number six, and he liked the movie very much, so he rated it 10. Okay, so just something like that. Now, we still only have the class between movie and actor, okay? Because we learned that it's there's a many to many relation between movie and actor, right? Okay, so it's a many to many between, it has a movie ID, it has the actor ID, and it has the extra stuff, extra information. Let's say that your salary is integer, like how many millions or whatever. It's just a number. So you can make it double. You can make it. Let's make it double. Yeah, double or integer. It's not like usually actors don't get paid by pennies, but anyways. Okay. So what should we say here? A movie number six, for example, has the actor number four, and the salary of this actor in this movie was like $10 million. Okay, the actor number four acted in the movie number six, and he had like $1 million as a salary. That's how you read this class. Okay, so any question so far?
So the rating comes from each users and it stacks up like a list or something, right? So we can
Yeah.
calculate average score. Where would that list be? List of
Well,
ratings.
the list of ratings should be in the movie. Like eventually, you either create it in the code, or here, if we are working with C Sharp and Entity Framework and like objects, you can have like the movie, okay, public. So we can create them here. Like those are what will be saved in the database, okay, everything. Now, the databases don't save lists or save objects, okay? Those are for you, for your code. Like, okay, you want to calculate the overall rating, so what should you do? You need to get all the ratings for this movie, okay? But the database don't care. The database has them in a table, and you need to query them from there. Okay, so for example, you can have this like what they usually do, you can have those like main stuff. So all of those stuff need to be saved in a database. Okay, all of those or all of those. Okay, and now at the end you can have those objects that will help you. Okay, and even if you don't have them here, you can have them like inside the code. So let's create them anyway. But um, like it's very important to know that in databases we don't store lists or objects. Okay, like a database doesn't have um, the concept of movie or actor. This is something you create. Like a database can save numbers, right, and strings and dates, like stuff that everyone knows, or at least stuff that the database was programmed to host. Okay.
The relational one.
uh, Sorry.
The relational ones.
Yeah, the relational
Because
ones. Yes.
they are another one.
Yeah, the other time we won't study here. Like we only study relational databases and like more specifically SQL Server.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
because it's the product of Microsoft. Okay.
Okay.
And
So of
Mohammed,
course we are talking about relations. Sorry.
I just got one question about that many-to-many relation between movie actor. So as actor can have many movies, so
Right.
that class should be in the actor, or
That what?
that I mean that third class that we created like from
No.
between
Well,
movie and
this
actor.
class, this class. Okay, let's create it. This class is not in anything. This is a class like independent.
Oh, independent class. Okay,
Yeah.
because I
So
thought
let's
it's a
yeah,
many-to-many. Okay.
yeah. So let's create a file for it. Okay. So it's not a class that's in anything.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I thought maybe it came from many-to-many relationship between movie and actor.
Yeah. Well, it's between movie and actor, but it's not inside movie or actor. It's a class like independent totally.
Okay.
Even in the database, it's a table that lives by itself.
I got
Okay. Okay. So let's create those lists that will help us. Like we will need at some point to create them inside our code, but let's create them here. So a movie has a list of what? First, it has a list of those the third class ratings, and the movie has a list of what? Like inside the movie, you have list of what? Of actors, right? Okay. But since the relation is many to many, we use that third class that we create. But when you call it, you can keep calling it actors. Like logically, you have a list of actors in the movie, right? But since the relation is many to many, we need to convert it to one to many, okay, as we learned before. So the list of actors is actually from that third class between actor and movie. Okay, this is you can learn it as a math rule. Okay, so this is how it's done. Okay, there's no other way to do it. Okay. Okay, and the actor has a list of movies that he has been or she has been in, right? So in the actor, you have a list of that third class between actor and movie, and you can call it movies. Okay, but of course, tomorrow when we see the database, we will see that this is just something we write in our code. It's not something that is stored. Okay. What do we also have? Okay, the user. As a user, what do you have? As a user, you have a list of ratings that you made, right? Like I'm a user, I like to go to IMDb very much, to the website of rating. So I like to make lots of ratings. So I'm a user, I have a list of ratings that I made, right? So what's the relation between user and rating? A single rating.
One too
Sorry?
many.
one too
So
many.
it's one too many, right? So one side will have a single object. So look at rating. The rating has one user, because it has an ID of one user. And the user is the many part. So the user has a list of ratings. So you need always to double check your code. So first think, what is the relation between user and rating? Okay, one to many. So one side should have one object, which is this side. Okay. And one side should have a list of the other, because it's the many part. So this side, not the actor, sorry, the user should have a list of what ratings. And now it's one to many. That's how you double check. Oh, yeah, my work is fine. Okay, good. Okay, so one to many. That means one has a single value and one has a many of that value. Okay. Okay. Now in the rating, you have the ID of each of those. So with the ID, of course, you can query the database to bring the whole object, like bring me all the information of this user. But now you have only the ID. And for the movie, you also have only the ID. So you can have the whole object. So this rating is the one part, okay? It doesn't have any lists, right? It's the one part. So this one has only single objects because it's the one part. So this user object is the object of this ID, okay? But you know, the ID is just a number. What if you want the name of the user? What if you want the birth date of the user? You can't, like, you don't have it. You only have the ID. So here we can store the whole object of this user, okay? Just for easy access. Okay, but of course in the database you only store a number, you only store the user ID, you don't store the whole object, because the whole object of user is stored in the table of users. You don't want to repeat it twice here and there. Okay, and in the movie actor, okay, so see the movie actor, it has one movie, it has one actor, right? But in the database it will only store IDs. Okay, so you can also have the whole object of movie. Okay. So that's like, everything is like simple, like an ID and a name. Then what is the relation? Okay, that's the whole story. Okay, anyone is still working, because we need to have somehow um, a matching design. Okay, so I can show you any class if you are still working.
Yeah, we can, because I would like to have the same specific attribute. So you can show me the actor class. Only for
Actor,
review it.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have the same.
Yeah.
Let me rename with a specific name.
Okay.
You called this one, the last one, movies, actor movies.
Yeah, movie actor, I called it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And the class movies.
And this is the class movie.
Actor.
I have
Okay.
a question Sorry. When do we decide that to put in the movie and user and actor, the whole object inside while we still have the ID in that class? How do we decide for convenience?
Well, it's like after we move on a little bit in the class, we will decide that we always need them. But like in other languages, you may be working with IDs only. You may not be working with an ORM. Okay.
Oh, here
So
we put it
yeah,
always. Okay.
here we always have them, and you will always see them
Okay.
when we work with, at least for our program. Okay. Okay. So now we have the models. Okay. Now let's create a controller. Okay. Let's create a controller for our movies. Okay, and start writing some web pages. So let's click on controllers. Let's create an empty controller. So let's create movie controller. Okay, so here we write the the pages. Okay, the functions to show the pages that a user could be interested in seeing. Okay, so for example, a user may want to see the information of a movie. So we, for example, a user needs to click on a movie name, okay, or click on a movie ID and see the information about this movie. Okay, so for example, let's create a function called get movie info. Okay, so it takes an ID, okay, an ID of a movie, okay, and it will find the movie in the whole list of movies that we have. Okay, so of course we need to initialize some movies. Now in real life or after some classes, we won't have to initialize anything because we will have our movies in a database stored. But here now we need just to create a list of fake movies. So like it can simulate our database. Okay, so let's create a constructor to create some movies. Okay, so we need to create some movies so we can see the result. Okay, that's what we're doing. After a few classes, we won't have to do that because we will have few movies stored in a database. Okay, so let's create a constructor just to construct few movies. That's not important. Okay, so a movie, when you want to create a movie, you send the ID, what is the name, what is the category. Okay, and then you initialize the movie, just a regular constructor. Okay, please write it down. Okay, so this contract some movies now just in our controller, so we can have like some fake data. So here we can have a list of movie. Yeah, so controllers and models are two different folders. So if you want to use the models in here, the classes, you need to include the folder of the models inside the using. So you need using models. Okay, so here we can have a constructor for the controller. Just every time we access the controller, we
So,
will initialize this list.
Mohammed,
what did you
Yep.
have?
how did you include our models, or did you just type in?
Uh, how do I include like
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah.
Well, Visual Studio will offer it to you, or you can write it yourself. But like the class movie inside is inside the folder models, right? So you need to have it in a using statement.
How do you get Visual Studio to do that for you though?
Well, it does it by default. If it's not doing this, then it should be somewhere in the options. But I really never had
Okay.
it to.
Yeah, because it didn't do that for me when I started including the list of movies.
Oh, yeah. So you have a missing option. Now, the problem is there are hundreds of options here, but you like it can be easily found, like um, intelligence and suggestions. Oh, okay. Yeah, honestly, I don't really remember because like it's always starting by default, at least for me. But just like uh, try to find Visual Studio hints and using suggestions, and it should show up right there. Okay, so we can create few movies. Okay, so for example, we can have something like this. Okay, so we are just creating some movies here. Okay, so we can use them in our pages rather than having a real database. Okay, so the first column is the movie ID. Second column is the movie name. Third one is what is the category of this movie.
Hey Mohammed,
Yep.
for the add method, can you separate by comma to add them all in one line, or do you have to do them all separately?
Well, I don't think so. Let's see. But add can add a whole list if you want. So if you open the add, no, add takes only one item.
Can it take a list though? Because then could we just
No,
add
that's add
just item?
add range. That's another thing.
Okay, thanks.
So you have add takes one item. You have add range takes a collection. Okay, but you are making a collection, so okay. It really depends on the creators of the add function. Like usually you don't send like multiple endless parameters. Usually you send a specific thing.
Can I see the library that you include? The first line, the line number one.
I didn't include the library. It's just this folder. So the name of your project dot models. Okay, what's the name of your project? Okay, so using
That's weird because I
yeah, you just need using
can't
the name of
recognize. I add the name of the project. In my case, the name is movie and movie dot models. But
the whole project is called movie and you have a class called movie.
well, I have a class called movie. Yeah,
Yeah, and the project is also called movie.
yeah.
Okay, I really don't know if this is working. Okay, let's see what do you have. Yeah, can you share your code, Willie?
Yeah.
Yeah, first let's go to the class movie. Can you go to the class movie? Well, I never had like made the class name the same as object name. Not sure if it's just making a conflict here. Okay, can you stop on the error to see the error at a red line? Okay. Yeah. So it's telling you movie is the name of the namespace, which is the name
Yeah.
of the project. And you have a class called movie. So you need to change your movie class name. That would be the
Okay.
easiest option. So call it my movie.
All right. Maybe I can rebuild it.
Well, change it. No, it's not about rebuilding.
Oh.
It's you can
There's
you
a
can
rename
rename the
function.
you can rename the project, but this is sometimes it causes problems. Like the name of
Okay.
the project is it just called my movie. And that's it. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Well, like movie is not a good name for a project. Like your project should be like movies app, movies website, movie application, movies system. Okay. So the easiest thing would be changing the class name of the movie class.
What is
Yeah,
the
just
name of your project in this case?
well, anything. I called it my first MVC application. Like, okay, but I'm not sure if this worked. Like now, you still have the word movie everywhere. Like the namespace is still called
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. Yeah, I need
Yeah,
to fix it. Okay, but I know the problem, so I can fix it. Let me check.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
It would be much easier to change the class name,
Yeah.
not the whole project name. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mohammed, I just got one question. In that movie actor, why we need just the movie object and the actor object instead of list? I mean, can we have a list there or just the objects of movie and actor? Why we need that?
Which class exactly?
In a movie actor class, we have a movie and actor objects from
Yeah,
their
well, we
classes.
can't have lists here. Like, this is a class we created to break the relation between movie and actor.
Right.
Okay, so this class converted the relation between movie and actor from many to many to one to many.
Okay.
And this the third class, okay, the third class that you invent, like this one, is usually the one part.
I see.
Is not the many part. The many part is the original classes, like movie and actor. So you see, the actor has a list, but this third class has one actor.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's clear.
You can't
Oh,
have a list here and a list there. This is another many to many. You didn't get anything now. Okay,
right.
like it's another many to many. So like it was a total waste of time. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a one to many. So one side should have one object for sure, which is this side, which is the new third class that you invent. The original classes, they are the many side, they are the list where they have a list.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's clear now.
Okay, yeah. So what we did here is we created a fake list of movies, okay, to just simulate our database, okay. And now, like, when someone asks for a certain movie, okay, what should you do? Okay, can you write the code for this one? So this one will return a string which says, okay, the movie um, with ID, this ID, and the name is from a category and it was released, or you can skip the release date. Anyway, just show like a message. So what would you do here is you will say, okay, so for each var movie in, let's call this one all movies, okay, so we can distinguish. Okay, let's call it all movies. Okay, so for each movie in all movies, okay, what should you do? You are looking for a specific movie and you have the ID. The, the person who is browsing your website provided the ID for you. Like, I want the information about the movie number 3 or 4. So what should you do? Or what we are used to do? We used to navigate the whole thing, right? And okay, if while I'm looping, if movie.id equals what? Equals to what the user wants, the browser of my website. Okay, then okay, this is the movie I'm looking for. Okay, that's nice. So here, like, I can return something like return just a string. Okay, so here I can return the movie, and here the name has an ID of and is from category. Okay, just like anything. Okay, imagine this is the information page of the movie. So here you have the movie.name, movie.id, and movie.category. Sorry, 012. Okay, so that's what we are used to do. Now, if the user asked for an ID that you don't have, okay, what should you return? The provided ID is invalid. Okay, like you are asking for the movie with the ID number 10, and I don't have this in my list of movies. So I will return like something, oh, I don't have it. Or you can throw an exception. Usually, when we don't find the ID you are looking for, that's when we throw an exception. Okay, but for now, we will just return like it's enough in our case. Okay, so what did we have to do here? We had to create a for each and an if inside this for each. Okay, so I'm navigating, my for each is navigating those movies, the whole list. And if you found that the ID of one of them is equal to the ID you are looking for, okay, that's the movie, then return the information. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, so we said the controller name is called movie, and the page name is called get movie info. Okay, and the ID we want like for the movie number one. Okay, the movie one. Okay, that's a terrible name, but anyway, has an ID of one and it's from category action. Okay, so we were able to see the information of the movie number one. What about movie number two? Okay, the movie two has an ID of two and it's from category. Okay, it's a typo here. Okay, what if you provided category that an ID that's not in our database, not in our list of movies? The provided ID is invalid. Okay. Now, for if you have the parameter named ID, okay, you can pass it like this without a query string, without writing ID equals. Okay, so this is like something we can do in ASP MDC, and then we will see why we can do it. But if you are just passing an ID, okay, and the parameter name is called ID, then you can just write slash and the ID. You don't need to write it like this, question mark ID equals 2. Okay, so instead of question mark ID equals 2, just slash 2. That's if the parameter name is called ID. Okay, we will see at a later point why can we do that.
So it's only for ID.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Of course, we can make it work for other things, but by default, it's only for ID. Okay, because that's like most of the time, that's what you use. But we can change that. So the movie like here, sorry. Okay, anyways, so we are able to bring the movie info, and you saw that, okay, that was the code that we are used to. Okay, now there is another thing or another addition to C#. Of course, it's been for a long time, but it was introduced at a later point called link. So link is a set of functions that were added to mostly the collections in C# that will help us perform a lot of tasks and save a lot of time while writing code. It stands for language integrated query. Okay. And it's to query any data source. So if your data source is a list, if your data source is a dictionary, if your data source is a file, okay, an XML file or a real database. So any source of information can be queried where with link. So of course it's a little bit of um, more complicated than this, but let's try this one. Get movie info with link. It also takes an ID. Okay. So the movie that we want with link, like it's very common to use var. Okay. So we can say that I want to query the list of movies I have. Okay, so all movies dot. So do you remember those like lots of functions that we keep seeing every time we work with lists? Okay, most of those functions are link functions. Okay, especially those where you see this small arrow and it says the word extension next to them. Now there are some original functions that are in the class list itself. Okay, like the add function, the add range function. Okay, those are original functions in the class list. Okay, and they are not extensions. Now everything else, or most of everything else, is an extension that is from the link system. Okay, so link was added to add more functionalities to our code, okay, and to mostly to our collections of data. Okay, so there are like lots of them, but the first one we need to take a look at is first. Okay, so first means give me the first item. Okay, so first will give you the first item in the list. Okay, so this will return the first movie, right? Okay, but I don't want the first movie. I want a specific movie. So now in the first, I can pass a condition. Like give me the first one that is with this ID. Or give me the first one that is with this name. Okay, so inside it, we can add a condition, which what we call a lambda function. So the way you write the condition is a bit strange, but we will get used to it. So you say m here is somehow similar to the you know, when you are working with for each, you always have this small variable that iterates over the collection. So here I'm saying, okay, find me a movie, the first one, okay, where the movie.id equals to what the user has passed to me. So it's somehow the if condition. So M here is like each movie in the list. Okay, M represents each movie in the list, but I don't want all of them. I want, okay, for each movie you are iterating, find me the one where the ID of this movie you are iterating over equals to the ID that the user just passed to me. And now it will return the first movie that has this condition as true. Okay, so all what we did is we passed a condition, just like this one. Okay, but it has its way. So equal sign, then it's like an arrow. Okay, that's how they write it. Okay, and the rest of it after the arrow is just similar to any if condition. Okay, so here it will return the first movie it finds that has this same ID. Okay, Now, the problem with first, it will throw an exception if it didn't find anything. Okay, that's the problem with first. Or it's not a problem, it's a feature, because sometimes you want an exception to be thrown just to make sure that, okay. Now, if you don't want exceptions, you can use first or default and it will return null. So first, it will either find the thing for you or throw an exception. First or default, it will either find it or return null. Like if I didn't find anything, okay, I'm not going to throw an exception in your face. I will just return a null movie because I didn't find it. Okay, like someone passed the ID number 12. Okay, we don't have this movie. So here we say, okay, now I requested a movie using first or default, which is a link function, and I passed my criteria. Okay, so if the movie is not null, that means it's found. Okay, that's when I want to like return a statement like this. So just the same, okay? I'm just typing here. Else, if the movie is null, I want to return that, oh, I didn't find this ID. Okay? So notice that from one line of code, okay, or from 1, 2, 3, all of those, okay, I was able to perform it in a single line of code. No for each, no if, no like calculation, and you will see that first or default is like the easiest one. The rest are even harder. Okay, and in a single line of code, you will be able to perform what you used to write 5 or 6 lines before. Okay, by using link functions. Okay, so any question about first and first or default?
I got a question, Mohammed.
Yeah.
So, for the parameter like the m, so it's not limited only for m, right? Like it's
No,
can be
it's
anything.
anything. Like you can call it MV.
Oh, okay.
It's a name, but we usually use one character,
Oh, okay.
which
So
is
so
the
if you set up a parameter, that means it's gonna be like create a for each loop for you.
yeah. So internally in this one, it will create a for each internally, but you don't need to write.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
still the same time to do so. Okay, but you are no longer writing like a bunch of code every time you need to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
that link function looks same like arrow functions that we learned in JavaScript, like with that fat arrow and stuff.
Yeah, well, many languages are having similar functionalities, but in JavaScript you don't call it link.
Yeah, we call
It's like maybe like
arrow functions.
yeah, probably yeah.
And one more question: does all that when we like all movies dot all these methods, does all of them provide that link, or the
Yeah,
one that
for
shows
any collection.
for any collection? Because some of them, when we click dot, let's say find, it does gives like an option like a predicate. So in
Oh yeah,
when we see predicate, this is where we can use links, or we can use with everything.
no, some link functions they don't need a predicate. Okay, so predicate is part like so like link functions are functions. Some of them needs a predicate, some of them don't.
Mhm.
Okay, but this specifically this is called a lambda function. The inside.
Right.
Okay. So first or default, we return either the found item or null if it didn't find. Now, if you want an exception, okay, like you want to make sure that there is an exception if you didn't find the item you are looking for, That's when you use first, not first or default. Okay, what if I want, of course, this when you try this one, it will result in the same thing. Okay, let's see the next one. What if I want um, a list of only the action movies? So you know, like we have few movies, okay? Some of them are action, some of them are comedy. I want only the action movies. So can you write me the code for it? Not in link with a for each, of course.
Do you want us
So
to
No,
return a list or a string of all of the?
sorry,
You want us to return a list then?
yeah, return a list of movies. Okay,
with
action,
links
get action
easily.
movie. Sorry,
With links, it's easily to do that.
yeah, well, let's do it without link first.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, just so we can see the difference. So get action movies doesn't need a parameter because we know that we only want action movies. Now we can, after that, write another function that takes for any category. But now we want a function that works only for action movies. Okay, so we don't have any parameter here. Okay, once I go to this page, I want to see the list of action movies. Okay, so please use a for each and like regular stuff that we used. Okay, and let's try to write the code for this one.
Done.
Okay, so we did this before, so let's try to do it quickly so we can focus on the link part. So of course we have the list of movies, which is a result. Okay, so for each movie in all movies, okay, we need to iterate them. So if this movie dot the category equals to action, okay, then okay, what should we do here? We need to add this movie to the result. Okay, add this movie to the result. Okay, and eventually you will return the result. Okay, is that what everyone did? Okay, so let's now create the version with link. Get action movies with link. Okay, so in link we have a function. We have a function called where. So var result equals, so all movies dot where will apply a filter and it will return a collection. So first or default will return an item. It's very important to know what is the purpose of each link function. So some of them will return an item, some of them will return just a number, some of them will return a collection, a filtered one. Some of them will return a totally different thing, a collection for different stuff. Okay, so the where function, okay, takes also a predicate, or it takes a condition. Okay, so I want m. So in my filter, what is the criteria for my filter? Okay, I want the category to be equal to action. Okay, and that's it. So with the where, okay, all what you need to do is to send your filter criteria, okay, your filtration condition, and it will return a filtered list for you depending on what you asked for. And that's it. No more loops, no more ifs. Okay. Now, of course, the type of this one is called IEnumerable. It's an interface. Okay, so we need to convert to return result. So this function is expecting a list, and this is not a list, but it can be easily turned to a list using the toList function. Okay, so toList will just create it to the type, convert it to the type list. Otherwise, you need to live with the original type of the where, which is called IEnumerable. Okay. So it's just a matter of returning the correct type. Okay, so if you want IEnumerable, okay, that's fine. But if you want a list, you need to call the toList function at the end. Of course, you can call it here. So you can have toList. Okay, so after you filter, okay, after you are done filtering, please convert it to a list. Okay, and you no longer need it here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I can see that we each time that we have this kind of syntaxes, we use the keywords, the reservoir keywords bars. In this case, in the line 68, we can use list result.
Yeah, well, with link, it's better to use var because most of the time like it's a little bit hard to get. Now, if you are very experienced, it's fine, you will know. But since we are new, like, do you know that the original return is IEnumerable something? Okay, so just to avoid, okay, guessing what is the return type, you can use var, and the compiler will know it for you. Okay, but if you don't want, you can say list movies, okay, or IEnumerable movie. Okay, so and sometimes there is that anonymous type which like you can't really type, so you need to use var. Okay, so it's just a habit that okay, if you are using link, just use var. Okay, and then the compiler will find the type for you. Okay, so it's just a convenient way. Okay, but in terms of is it faster? Is it not? It's the same thing. Well, we will have lots of different ones. So they are a bit different, but let's just learn the important ones. Okay. Uh, we, we will take a look at many of them, but there are lots of different different purposes of them. Some of them take different parameters. Okay. So let's get like step by step. So for now, first or default, and where. Okay, don't get yourself confused with because there are so many. Okay, so that's for the where. So the where, okay, is extremely important. It's like the one that we use like 80% of the time. Okay, it applies a filter to a collection or to a data source and returns a new filtered collection. Now, if you want to convert it to a list, to a dictionary, to anything, you can call a function that is also available at the end. Okay, so we'll take 10 minutes, 15 minutes break. Okay, and after that, we'll come back to see more link functions. Okay, see you very soon.
The next step was to get lighting and electrical done while I could still reach the ceiling pretty easily. Well, this is a bit of a mess. Wish I could just snap my fingers and clean it up. I got a nice window at Restore, and even though we wouldn't be using it for a while, we needed to know the dimensions for our egress. Thus began my first little foray into digging. Then it was time to cut out the egress. Just a little bit dusty. Some way to haul all the concrete and dirt out of the basement, so I built what I like to call the Beast Wagon. I got a winch and anchored it in the ground with concrete. Haul up about 1,000 pounds at a time. If you haven't used a jackhammer in your life, I highly recommend it.
Don Quixote thinks I'm silly. I've got blisters on my hands. I'm getting a free workout.
Truck went up on 2 wheels trying to get this load out. Once we started digging, I quickly discovered that the SDS Max hammer drill with a shovel bit was the way to go. Although the first bit broke pretty quickly.
Hi-ho, hi-ho.
I wish this whole job was in time lapse.
Lest you think I did this all myself, I did have a little help from my friends. That's what beer is for.
This is 1 day's worth of a lot of power. I just moved 13,440 pounds. And it's before breakfast.
We built walls as we went, just to keep things shored up.
let's continue here. And we are still talking about link. Okay. So what if I want now to have a function that returns a list of movies? Okay, get movies in category. Okay, so here the user will pass what is the category the user wants to see. Okay, what should I do here? Using link. Let's write it. Okay, try to write it. Okay, so all what we need to do is using the parameter name. So you can have something like return all movies dot where. Okay, I need to filter the all movies list. Okay, what should I do? I need to filter it. So m dot I'm using the letter M because it's the first letter of the word movie. Now, when I search users, usually use the letter U, but it's eventually a name of a variable. You can use whatever you want, but it's easier to like understand what you are doing here when you use like the correct letters. Okay, but eventually it's a name. You can use whatever you want. Okay, so M dot the category of this movie should equal to the category that the user wants, and then I can convert it to a list so I can return it. Okay, just similar to the previous one, but with any category it works now. Now you can pass action, you can pass comedy. If you passed a category that's not there, you will get an empty list. Okay, so you won't have issues here. Like if you said, okay, give me all the drama movies and we don't have any, you will just get an empty list.
So we don't get a null exception here if it is empty.
No, you don't get. You just get a list with like nothing. Okay. So, what if I want to know? Now, I'm not interested in the whole movie. I'm just interested in the numbers. So, like, get number of movies in category. So this one also will take a category. Okay. So I'm not interested in knowing the actual movies. I just want to know how many movies I have. So how could we do this in link as well? So we can have something like var the result, which is the count. So you can say all movies dot count Okay. So you can, of course, if you use count without anything, like if you didn't pass any condition to count, you will get what? The count of all the movies, like the entire list. Now, if you want to count a certain criteria or a certain condition inside your movie list, sorry, that's where, okay, M MV, okay. Now MV dot category equals the one that the user wants. And now you will only get the count, okay, and see what is the type of result. It's integer, okay, because count is an integer, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. It won't be like 1.5, okay. So I can return it right away. I don't want to convert it to anything, okay. It's exactly what I want. So here's like another example. Like if you are not sure what is the result of count, okay, just use var and okay. But like the more experience you get, the easier for you to guess what is the return time, because this is not a function that you wrote yourself. Okay, so now I'm not counting the whole list as usual. I'm just counting a specific uh, filtration of the list. After I filter it, I just want to count. And this one will not return the movies. Like this one will only count them for you. It won't tell you what are the names of the movies, what are the movies, anything. Okay? It will just count them for you. Okay?
Mohammed,
Yep.
sorry, I just got a small question. So, I want to know what what kind of like what type of the uh, variables or can use the link functions. Like we are using link functions for list right now, right?
Yeah, so the type of this variable, you mean MV?
No, no, no. I mean for like all the
Um,
link functions.
yeah,
What?
link functions, those like anything that is from I enumerable, okay, which is like think about any collection, list, hash
Oh,
set, like for now, like I'm not very extremely accurate here, but I'm trying to make it simple. So stuff like list, hash set, dictionary, stacks, queues, okay, any collection of things,
oh, okay,
even arrays, it can work on them.
okay, okay.
Okay, so any collection of for now, any collection of objects, it should be able to work with, but it should be from type I enumerable anyway.
So it works for something called map, right?
Math,
Map,
math, map.
map. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have map in list in C sharp.
Like I did a little bit research. Like it is like for like list or dictionary, it all belongs to something called map.
Yeah, probably, yeah, but I really didn't use it before, so I
Oh,
don't
okay.
want to. Like I use hash set, I use trees, stacks, queues. There is something called hash map and hash set in other languages. Hash
Yeah, yeah,
tables,
yeah,
hash map. So probably the map is something like a dictionary,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. It is. It is.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I remember using hash map in another language.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I think we also have a hash table. I think it's a non-generic, like array list.
Yeah. Hash table. It's also, I guess, it's here, but it's, as you said, it's not generic.
And I think it's like array list.
Hash table. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a array list, but it's hash table should be something like dictionaries, I guess, or
Like key value. Yeah.
yeah, if it's key value, then Yeah, key value. So it's just exactly like a dictionary, but it's not generic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Java as well. Maybe Willy can help. They have hash table or hash map.
A hash.
Uh,
We have a
yeah,
map.
hash map.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Map.
yeah, but yeah. So you get the idea. So for example, key value. Now, what what do they choose to name it? Yeah, it's not a very big issue. So for example, here, like even if you created an array, you will find link functions here. So like first or default, count, okay, and all the functions that we have. Okay, so also using where, I want you to write this function. This one will return a list of movies. Let's call it movies in the 90s. So I want all the movies in the 90s. How do I do that? Using where.
I'm done.
Yeah.
我们非常超级的注重保密这件事情，教了我2个在工作职场上非常重要的 skill set，一定是 business class，住的一定是5星级的饭店。我们再来讲到苹果
给的薪水到底可以赚多少钱？欢迎收看 The Duty Man。今天我们就来分享我在苹果上班的一个经验。你在 Apple 上班，你是不是都赚很多，福利很好？那个下一只手机什么时候出来？可不可以跟我讲什么时候出来？我要换手机，什么时候出来？Apple Watch 好像怪怪的。我手机最近好像怪怪的。我电脑也怪怪的。你可以帮我看一下吗？不知道，它就是怪怪的。哇，你在 Apple 上班哦，真的是很可怜呢。你们应该超爆了吧？可怜。大家好，我是伊恩。今天这一集呢，只有我一个人，加州都还在封城，所以 Eric 现在也是在他自己的家。因为我很久也没看到 Eric， 大家可能也会想念他，包括我自己也蛮想念他的。对，我想到了，等一下哦。这样子有没有比较像 Eric 的胡子呢？很多朋友听到我在苹果上班呢，都会有刚刚以上那几种反应。我自己是在苹果的包装团队当工程师，那我今天也不会特别在包装这方面讲太多。如果大家对包装这个议题比较有兴趣的话呢，可以帮我留个言。如果反应比较多的话呢，我会在苹果包装上面做另外一集。可是你们说是不是苹果包装真的是不错？我自己觉得苹果真的是没话说。厉害！我在苹果上班也差不多快5年的时间了。我今天所分享的呢，也是我个人的 opinion， 也不能代表所有 Apple 的员工个人的想法。OK？ 那我在苹果上班之前呢，其实我也待过很小的公司、中大型的公司，其实我都待过。那我觉得苹果有很多不一样的地方。先讲一下苹果上班一天的流程大概是怎么样。我们公司有 shuttle 的 service， 如果住在湾区比较靠近 take up 的点的话呢，你可以搭 shuttle 上下班，所以就不用自己开车。那我自己比较没有那么幸运，我就会自己开车上下班。可是还好，我大概开20分钟到30分钟的车程。上下班我们也没有打卡这种东西，要几点上班，
so
几点
by
下
the
班，就是
end of this week, we will have an exam, and it will be the project for this course. So this course is only 1 week. It's introduction to MVC and introduction to Link. So it's a pretty easy course. Okay, we don't have like a full assignment or full project for it. Okay, the project and the exam are merged together in 1 day. Okay, so please try to study from now. Okay, it's only a few days, and of course you can take a rest in the weekend. You won't have anything. Okay, just be careful that Link is a very serious thing, something that we use for the whole program, and we need to get used to it very quickly. Okay, so who said I'm done, Kevin?
But the exam will be like the last exam because, in my opinion, the exam was harder than the project.
No, this one will be like extremely easy. That one was intended to be like way harder than it's supposed to be. Okay, that's why it's only 15 grades. But this one will be just like a few wares, few first or default, and that's it. So
Yeah,
most students last time got full mark,
because
or very close to full mark.
okay, because for the last course, I mean the project was so easily, like 50% easily than the exam. The exam was okay, but
Yep.
if you flicked it, I mean, if you put the exam as project and project as exam, maybe it's better. In my opinion, I don't know if
Yeah, well,
another
this is
student I agree.
I don't
Yeah,
want
th-
that
this is-
exam to be worth 85%. Screw that. That exam I bombed. There's-
yeah, well, that exam, like, it's just a way to get you used to, like, okay, I have a full day of a hard thing, I want to do it. Okay, so that's why it's like it won't make you fail or pass. Okay, but if it's meant to make you fail or pass, it will be extremely straight to the point, and it will measure just what we studied. Okay, so for the next one, like, I'm pretty sure most of you will get above 80 easily if you are studying those. Okay, if you are understanding what we're doing now. Now, if you don't, that's a different story. Okay, but like we do this all the time. Okay, like a full day of a really hard thing, new thing, that's really challenging. Okay, the thing that you keep pulling your hair the whole time, because this is how your day-to-day life is going to be in the very near future. Okay, every day you will wake up, you will go to a company. Maybe the internship could be a little bit easy, you know, because they see you as an intern, so okay, get it easy on them. But when you are employed and you are getting paid, every day you will wake up, go to a place, the whole day you are working with stuff that you've never seen before, finding solutions for issues, especially for the first year or two until you accumulate that experience. Okay, that's why in few years a company they will start reaching out to you. Please come work here. Okay, uh, we need you. Okay, we will give you like whatever money you want because they need that experience that you've been working for years. Okay, so it's not easy to get, but like I don't want to make life here is extremely nice and easy, and then just all of a sudden you are in a workplace and it's totally different. It's totally like a new life. Okay, so we are not just learning code here, we are also learning how to adapt to the life of at work. So like in the last year of university it's nothing but projects, like big projects all the time, because they want you to get ready to work in a company. Okay, so Kevin, you said you are done, or Harris, or this one? Sorry, I
Yeah.
yeah. So can you show us your code? Okay, so as you can see, one line of code. So movies from the 90s. Okay, so Kevin knows that we have something called the release date. Okay, in the movie. Okay, otherwise you wouldn't be able to solve this one. So in the date class itself, there is a property called year. So here you can say the date is from January 1st, 1990 to December 31st. Okay. But Harris said, Kevin said, okay, I will just compare the year. So if the year is 1990 to 2000, okay, then this is a 90s movie. And that's what I want. So you notice that Link will very slowly make your life extremely much easier. Like everything you want to do now in C sharp, of course. It's just most of the time it's a line of code, and just pass the criteria that you have, and that's it. Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin. So let's write it together as well. So you can say var the result equals to, okay, I have all the movies. I want to filter them. Okay. So the movie, I want m dot release date, we called it. Okay. So you can say it's more than January 1st, 1990 to December 31st, 1999. Okay. Or you can use the year property as Harris did. So the year is just an integer. Okay. So you can compare it. So bigger or equals to 1990. Okay. And m dot release date as well is less than 2000. Okay. So if you have any movie where the year is, what's the issue here?
Dot year.
Sorry, dot year. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the year is also less than 2000. Okay. That's a 90s movie. Okay. What should you do now? Return result dot to list. Okay, and now you get movies in the 90s. Now you can create another one. Okay, you are getting the ID here. You can create another one that takes what we call this, a decade. So like the user will pass a decade, like 90s, 80s, 70s, 2010s. Okay, and you can use it instead of a hard coded year. You can, okay, so if the user chose 90s, then like show him only the movies in the 90s. If the user chose 80s, okay, so from 1980 to 1990. So like you can do that easily, but the code is the same. Okay, you can change the parameter to pass the decade or a single year. Maybe the user is interested in seeing only the movies in 2007. So now you can create a function that takes like an exact year. Okay, but notice that the date time, let's go to the date time. So go to definition. Okay, see this date time. This is an extremely powerful class. It's in C sharp. It's a C sharp it's a class in C sharp, and it's like extremely powerful. It can do like lots of magical stuff with dates because dates are extremely important thing in any program. Okay, so you can like add years, add days, remove days, go back in time. Okay, you can know the day of the week, like what was the day of the week in this date, for example. It will tell you. You can use something called time span also to know time spans. So you can work with date time and time spans together to achieve more complicated things. You can like add days, add hours to a certain date. So you know like okay, add milliseconds. You can convert between dates has lots of formats. So like the datetime class is like one of the most used and powerful classes in C sharp, and it can do lots of stuff. So before you try, for example, imagine if you are working in a company tomorrow and they told you, okay, we want to work with some kind of scheduling app. Okay, so before you start inventing your own functions, okay, and writing those extremely complicated algorithms to know what was the day in the 7th of July in 1965. Okay, so before you start writing something, try to see if it's already there. Okay, now we are doing everything the old-fashioned way because we are just learning. But tomorrow at work, don't invent anything that's already there and is tested and it's written by professionals. Why would you write your own code? Okay, that maybe is full of bugs and it's like maybe it's working, but maybe it's very slow. Okay, so always before you try to achieve a task, try to find, okay, what are the available functions or libraries for me, because at work all what they care about most of the time, okay, unless they are like those rare cases where they want to invent their own algorithms to be maybe a bit faster or something. Okay, but most of the time what they want is to get the work done without bugs, without like making a bottleneck in performance. Okay, so always make sure that you know what the language is offering for you before inventing your own algorithm. Okay, movies in the 90s. Okay, okay, now let's go back to movie. Okay, let's add another one, another property, public double is money. Okay, price to rent. Okay, so like now you can rent movies either online or I'm not sure if there are stores to rent movies anymore, but it was very common like 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Okay, so price to rent, like each movie has a price to rent. Okay, so I want to know all the movies that a certain user can afford. Okay, so here I want to know also to get a list of okay, movies in budget. For example, you will pass what is your budget. Like I have $10. Okay, so this page or this function will return to you. It will return to you a list of all movies. Oh, why do I have this one? Double money. Okay, so this function will return all the movies that you can watch if you have this amount of money. Okay, so it will tell you, okay, you can watch this or this or this because all of them are less than, what do you have? Less than $10. But you can't watch this movie because this movie is more expensive than what you have. Okay, let's try to do this one.
I'm done.
Yeah, just a second, please. So, um, okay. Yeah, so you can see that we are taking almost the same thing but with a different story. Okay, once we say in the 90s, once we say in a budget. Okay, but eventually it's the same code. It's aware with the condition. So I'm really hoping that you are now getting enough exercise, especially on where. Okay, so you won't have any problems understanding every time we use where in the future. So you can have result all movies dot where. Okay, where want. Okay, so the movie MV. Okay, MV dot the price to watch or price to rent. Okay, it's less than or equals to what, to the money the user has, and that's it. Okay, so all of what I had to do is to filter all the movies. Okay, like just give me the movies where the price to watch this movie is less or equal to the money that this user has. Okay,
We using the bar result or something result or just to return at like line 74. I am using just return this.
yeah, well, if
The
that's
whole
all
one
what you
line.
want,
That's
yeah, but
oh,
sometimes you want the list, you want to do something with it, then you want to return it.
it'd be better
But
to okay.
yeah, or sometimes you want to, for example, to write or return a meaningful message or to check for exceptions. It's good not to return right away. It's fine if you wrote another line if you like took your time. Okay, but it's totally fine if you want to return. Okay. Now, when we will work very soon on a full website, you will notice that we always do some checking. We redirect the user to the error page if something happened, then we return the result. Okay. Okay. So after the break, we will start working with ratings, and we will also work with the actors. Okay, and we'll try to get a bit of like more complicated queries. Okay, but we will keep it simple in general because it's the first time we study link. Okay, so please, I'm not sure why we always lose 2 or 3 students after the break. So guys, after the break it's just as important as before the break. So please, unless you really have an emergency, please always make sure to attend, because after the break is not just exercises, it's new stuff.